now as soon as public speaking is, when my throat's dry, I criticize myself, I say all my.
Hey, Mom was waiting on me, no, I'm just kidding. I, had to record behind you, so you're fine, wherever you wanna sit. I had, Tracy's out today, so she asked me to record. Have not looked at tests today, had a little emergency yesterday, so I couldn't do it. But hopefully we'll get to it today. The average was an 80.9 on the test. So, I will go out there and look at them today and shoot y'all an email. What I just did, y'all, this is the rest of the semester. This is it. Today is the 20th. Your last day of lecture is the 26th. And your final exam is on May 1st. So this is every class period we have left. So including today, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have 12 classes left, including today and the final exam. Okay, that's it. Yeah. I know, time flies when you're having fun. Now, a couple of things I want to remind you about. This coming Monday, March 26th, I am going to send you an email about it, but this coming Monday is the last day to withdraw without academic penalty. And that's for a full semester class. So if you're taking a 15-week class and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it, I may fail. If you want to get out, March 26th is your last day to get out without academic penalty. And I always tell my students, if you're getting financial aid, if you're on like scholarship, always talk to financial aid before you withdraw to make sure that you don't owe any money back, or you're not going to owe any money back, and you're not going to get on probation or suspension. Because I don't know what the rules are. Don't go see your advisor. Your advisor can't do anything for you. We're not guidance counselors. We don't know the financial aid rules. There are so many stinking rules. They don't tell us because it varies according to what kind of financial aid you get. So, I just hear the words on the streets. The words on the streets are, I've had so many people say, well, if I would have stayed in that class another day, I wouldn't have had to pay back this money. Or if I would have gotten out the day before, I wouldn't have to pay back this money. I don't know what the rules are, but if you're thinking about getting out of a full semester class, make sure that's the drop dead deadline, but make sure that you talk to financial aid, because that may make up your decision before you actually decide to get out. What's left? What do we have left to do in this class? 7 and 6 homework. We're working on 7 right now, which is the regression stuff, the blue paper. 6 is probability. So we have 7 and 6 left to do, so you have the 7 and 6 homework, and you're also going to have a test on 7 and 6. Then we have 5 and 8 to do, Chapter 5 and Chapter 8. Now, notice that I do not have a test on Chapter 5 and Chapter 8. You just have homework on Chapter 5 and Chapter 8. I hated those teachers who would give me a test and then turn around 2 or 3 days later and give me the final exam on everything. So you have homework on Chapter 5 and Chapter 8, but you do not have a test on just Chapter 5 and Chapter 8. Since that's at the end of the semester, you have a 5 and 8 homework, but there's no 5 and 8 test because I'm turning around and giving you the final exam. The final exam is going to be on everything. So there's going to be a little bit of 5 and a little bit of 8, but there's also going to be the rest of 1 through 8. And your final exam is all multiple choice. All eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay? All multiple choice. And you take it with Miss Cooper. You don't take it with the testing room, you take it with me.
Like pen and paper?
Hopefully, I will find a room that's empty, and we'll go down and make a little field trip that day, and we'll go take it on the computer. That way you'll know your grade before you leave.
Cool.
So if I can find one of the hub rooms that are open that morning, we'll just go down and take it in the lab together with me. Because y'all are used to taking it on the computer, you're used to doing your homework on the computer, so we'll do it on the computer. That way when you submit it, you'll know your grade before you leave. Worst case scenario, we'll take it in this room and it'll be multiple choice and you fill it in with a Scantron. But I should know a week or so ahead to prepare you either way. And I will have, like I always do, I'll have a review for the 7 and 6 test, and I also will have a review for the final exam, a review homework for the final exam. Yay?
That's your road to an A.
I know. I'm trying to give it to y'all.
I got it.
You just gotta take it. So that's everything that y'all have left. We are gonna do one more regression problem, and then we're gonna finish up chapter 7. So if you have your blue paper, let's pull that blue paper out one more time, one more again. Yes, I'm pulling your, I'm giving you a blue paper. Anybody else need a blue paper?
I forgot.
Okay, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think I like wrote a little bit on this one, but it's not much. Okay, on the front of this, do you have your calculator or you need one? Okay, on the front, this tells the directions. So preparing the calculator is step number 1. Step number 2 is the beginning steps. And then this is step number 3, and this is step number 4. This is step number 5, and this is step number 6. This is step number 7, and that's step number 8. So this tells you how to do the problem. And then in here are the actual problems. And then at the back is the answers. Okay? Now, let's see, how many of y'all need a calculator? Raise your hand if you need a calculator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2. 3, 4. 1, 2. 3, 4. 5, 6. All right, this is number 1. It's called brain size and intelligence. Now for this one, y'all, it's 2 lists, but they didn't put them straight down. So this is one list that continues over here. And this is another list that continues over there. Y'all with me? Now, for this one, it was a little bit hard to say, does your brain size cause your IQ, or does your IQ cause your brain size? So if I don't think that you're going to know which one causes what, I will tell you in your Part A, what is your L1. So if I think you're going to know, I don't tell you. But if I'm not sure if you're going to know, then I'll tell you what I want L1 to be. So for this problem, I'm telling you L1. So your brain size is going to be this column and this column. So your L1 is going to be all of this and all of this. And this is brain size and IQ. And we'll go through it together in just a minute. Number 21. Corey is here. DJ is here. Krisha is here. Amy is here. I was just having a moment like, oh, Jacob is here. Bree is here. Sue is here. No Jason. Ariel is here. Ashley is here. Tracy is not. Amber is here. Jada is here. Tanya is here. Heather is here. Jessica is here. Tatiana is Shatika is not, Calvin is here. And remember, when you take your test, you're not gonna have this blue paper with you. You're gonna have to know how to do that.
And you could do a whole lot more than you do this.
Yes.
So L1, are those two things in L1, or is that just one thing?
No, it's the same list that they just cut in half. So your L1 is gonna be this and this.
Okay.
And your L2 is gonna be this and
Oh,
this.
okay.
Yeah. They just split it up on you.
Okay.
And if you finish before I start going over it, you can check the back if you want to, check your answers. Me cutting, copying and pasting. Somebody must have been watching a video or something in here. what we're doing in chapter 7 is called linear regression. And what I did is I copied, bless you, must be allergic to math. I copied the first page of the blue paper, the regression rules, and this is not given on the test. So you've got to remember this. You have steps 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. And remember that first step, I say, is only a one-time only thing. But remember, you have to do this on the test. And remember, it's not that step, it's the step that says program, PRGM, I think it's the program button, and then you're gonna do fix calc, and then enter. And if you wanna do it every time just to get in the groove, that's fine, but if you're using your calculator every single time, you only need to do it once, but the day of the test, you need to do it again, because you've got to use the testing center computer, or calculator. So, what you would do, even though I say one time, is one time if you're using your calculator on homework, but then you've got to do it the day of the test. So you hit the program button, and right there, it'll have something that says fix calc. Everybody in this room has it because I put it on your calculator, but mine doesn't have it downloaded, but it'll say fix calc. So you hit program, and then you go down until you get on top of fix calc, and then you hit enter. That's going to be what you'll do the day of the test. Yay? Then you're going to do your beginning steps. These are the steps that I say germ X. These are the clean yourself steps. And I have them up there on the yellow paper too, just to remind you. Just kind of simple steps. You don't have to take a shower in the same order I do, but you've got to clean yourself. So, what we do is we go to this, remember, this is what you're doing, and in the parentheses, this is how you do it. So we go to the y equals button, we make sure that our plot 1 is black, and that all of our y equals are clear. So our plot is black, all of our y equals are clear. So we just did steps 1 and 2. Our plot is black, all of our y equals are clear. Step 1 and step 2 are done. Then we do second catalog. Second catalog is second and the 0 button. We scroll down to clear table. Remember, to get to clear table, all we do is hit the button with the C on it. That fast forwards us to the C's. And then next what we do is we get down to clear table. Once we get beside clear table, we hit enter. So we did second catalog, and then we did enter. So this CAT is really catalog, which is your 0 button. So that takes care of that germ-X step. And finally, we're going to clear our list. And I like to do that in Lighthouse because then I get ready to enter my data. So I do stat edit, stat number 1. I go to the top, hit clear, enter. Go to the top, hit clear, enter. So I have done all my germ-X steps. I have cleaned myself. I am now ready for a new problem. So all my germ-X has been done. So we have done our preparing our calculator, we've done our germ-X steps. Now we're ready to get dressed. We're ready to enter the data. So the problem that I asked y'all to do was off the blue paper, and it was number 21. Is there a relationship? Is there a correlation between brain size and IQ? Now, normally I say you've got to tell me which causes which to happen. Well, in this one, does brain size cause IQ? Does IQ cause brain size? It's kind of hard to tell. So if I'm not sure if you can tell or not, then I tell you what I want L1 to be. So in this case, I told you that L1 was gonna be brain size. So L1 is gonna be all of the yellow, and L2 is gonna be all of the blue. Make sure that these match up. So when you type them in, those two side-by-side numbers have to go together. And I know Heather watches me like an eagle to make sure that I type them in correctly. 1285, 1049, and then I go to the rest of the yellow column. This is my getting dressed step. This is my plugging in the data. Okay, there's 10 pieces of data, so I ended up on, there's 10 pieces of data, so I ended up on line number 11. Now I'm going to type in my IQs. All right, we want those columns to be the same length, because if they're not, it's going to come back and say, hey, you're not dressed right. You've got a little malfunction. Something's hanging out. Something's going wrong. So, right now we have, oops, wrong side. We have Germex, we've cleaned ourselves, and now we've gotten dressed. We've dressed ourselves. We've plugged in the data. So, I'm going to pull this down. We've plugged in the data. We've entered the values. We've done stat edit. So y'all, when you go on a date, you clean yourself. You get dressed. And now we gonna look at me. Zoom 9 is look at me. Check me out. So when I come over here, Zoom 9. Look at me. So that's what they want me to do right there. So for my problem, Part 1 says view the scatter plot. So we had to Germex, we had to clean ourselves, we had to get dressed, we had to put in the data, and then we had to look at me, we had to do the Zoom 9. That's all they wanted for number 1. So I'm going to pull over that and let me go to stat edit so that you can see that. So the answer to number 1, or letter A, is this one. They just wanted to see the scatter plot. That's it. Now, I, Ms. Cooper, am going to ask another question. What kind of correlation do you see from the scatter plot? Is it uphill? Is it downhill? Is it all over the place? What do you see when you're looking at this?
I see all over the place.
Okay, some people say, oh, it's kind of uphill, and then I see some people say, no, it's kind of downhill, and then some people say it's kind of all over the place. So, I have some people saying it's a positive correlation because it's uphill, some people saying it's a negative correlation because it's downhill, and then some people saying it's no correlation because it's all over the place. Okay, so, further down the problem, as Ariel always says, we gonna know the rest of the story because it's gonna prove it to us. So now let's go to part B. And as we go through the steps, we've taken a shower, we've gotten dressed, and we've looked at it. Now we need to work it out. This is our work it out step. The line of best fit. We want to work it out. So we're going to go to our calculator and we're going to do stat, because we're doing a statistical problem, calculate. That's our work it out. We want it to calculate for us. Now, we've only done 2 calculates in here. One var stats was our mean, median, mode, standard deviation. Linear regression is what we're doing right now. So we're either going to hit number 4 or we're going to go down to linear regression. So I'm going to go down to linear regression, and I'm going to do enter, 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 enter. And that's where it gives me all this jazz. And remember, this is what I'm doing, and this tells me how to do it. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to pull over that. So I did stat, calc, linear regression, number 4. And this is telling me what I want. This is what I want. So in this spot, I plug in my A, and in this spot, I plug in my B. You never touch the Y, you never touch the X. So it's gonna be y equals whatever my A value is, x, plus whatever my B value is. And it'll tell me what I need to round it to. So here's the A value I plugged in, here's the B value I plugged in. So that is the line that's all up in the Kool-Aid. That's the line that best represents those points that I did in part A. That's all I need as my answer for part B. Yay? All right. Now, part C, already have. Part C says, what is the correlation coefficient? What letter represents the correlation coefficient?
R.
The R. All we got to do is know the math language. My R value. So my R value, it says identify the R. Well, we get it from right here. My R value is 0.179. And my R value, remember, goes from goes from -1 to +1 with 0 in the middle. If you have no money, you broke, that is a no correlation. The closer you are to being broke, the weaker you are. The closer you are to having $1, the stronger you are. The closer you are to 50 cents, the moderate you are. And if you're on the negative side of town, you're negative. If you're on the positive side of town, you're positive. So in this problem, we have about 17 or 18 cents. So I would say I'm on the weak side. So this is going to be our interpret. We have a weak, and what side of town are we on?
Positive.
We have a weak positive correlation. We have a weak positive relationship. So we had to identify it, tell it what it was, and we had to interpret it. What does it mean? So now, this is saying we have a weak positive. So if we go back up to the picture, even though it was all over the place, our R value is now telling us that it is weak and positive. But it's really weak, which means that it's kind of almost no correlation. It's just really weak. But they're saying, okay, there's kind of a correlation there. And if I had to draw this line, that's the line that's most representative. That's the line that's all up in the Kool-Aid. Okay? Which we're going to get to in a minute. So now we need to make predictions. We need to say, what if this happens? Just like y'all do with your grades at the end of the semester. Ms. Cooper, what if I make this on my final? What will my grade be? We're going to say, what if your brain was this big? What should your IQ be? What if your brain was this big? What should your IQ be? So we've taken a shower, we've gotten dressed, we've looked at me, we've worked it out. Now, this is the step that so many people forget. This is what I call the copy and paste. Now, I'm going to pull this over so that you can, and if you forget this step, oh, you're going to end up getting it wrong. And I'll show you why in just a second. Let me come down. This is the copy and paste. So when you're copying in a Word document, you have to go to where you want to suck it into. So first thing we're going to do is go to the y equals. That's where we want to suck it into. So I go to the y equals. Don't get on top of the equal sign because you can't suck into an equal sign. You got to suck into behind the equal sign. So we go behind the equal sign. That's where we want it to be. Then we go to the vars. That means we're sucking in an equation with variables in it. So we click on vars because it's a variable equation. We go down to number 5 because it's a statistical variable equation. I got trigger happy. So we go to vars because it's variables. We go to number 5 because it's statistical. We go over to EQ because it's an equation. And we choose number 1 because we're doing linear regression. It's a regression equation. Now, look at what I just sucked over. I'm gonna bring it